Kevin Rudd is the former Prime Minister of Australia and now is the president of the Asia Society Policy Institute in New York and joins us live from New York. Thank you for being with us. What do you make of Donald Trump's strategy on this? Do you think that it could lead to a miscalculation or mistake?
I think the president's strategy has one objective at this stage, and that is to apply maximum pressure on China. China is the only one with effective political and diplomatic leverage on Pyongyang at present because of North Korea's economic and financial and energy dependency on the People's Republic of China. And so, therefore, what President Trump, I believe, is seeking to do, based on his discussions at Mar-a-Lago, is to keep that pressure on in the hope that Beijing can actually bring about, through political pressure, a change in North Korean behaviour.
Do you think that strategy is going to work?
It's too early to tell. This has not been tried with this level of focus before. China, as most people are aware, has been reluctant to deploy this level of political or diplomatic leverage in the past, not just because of historical, as it were, relationship reasons with North Korea going back to the Korean War half a century or more ago, but because China has often been plain about the fact that it does not want to see a conflagration on the peninsula. It does not want to see the collapse of the regime, and it does not want to see any American troops one day landing on the Yalu in what would then be a vacated territory in the north.
This is therefore a very complicated and multi-layered situation. What sense is there that China is going to play ball?
You know something, we don't know. There are divided opinions in Beijing on this question, and frankly, for any government, this would be a very hard call. On the one hand, they don't want the nuclear proliferation on the Korean Peninsula. They don't want South Korea or Japan developing their own retaliatory nuclear deterrent, particularly if the latter two began to lose faith in the application of a US nuclear deterrent long term. But on the other hand, they have deep cautions about the great unknowns which flow from putting pressure on Pyongyang. Do you see then the regime of Kim Jong-un fall, or do you just see him fall and replaced by someone who they are even less familiar with now? So this is the divided debate within Beijing at present, and that, I think, is where the core politics within China and diplomacy lies as far as the United States is concerned.
As a former Prime Minister, someone who has been in on the strategies to try and get North Korea to the table, what do you think should be done in order to bring North Korea to be more compromising in this situation?
I think there are two things. We've just discussed one of them, which is seeking to work with our Chinese friends to substantially up the leverage, which is currently being deployed against Pyongyang from Beijing. I think the second, though, is this. The next big hurdle, if you like, in this tense situation on the Korean Peninsula will come with the election of the next president of South Korea, election scheduled for the 9th of May. Now, that's just a little more than a week away. Historically, the North behave badly on such occasions. They did so several years ago with the election of President Park. They did it 5 years before that with the election of President Lee Myung-bak. So if a diplomatic message can be got through to Pyongyang, either out of Moscow or out of Beijing or elsewhere, to say it's time not to do what you normally do when there's an election of a new South Korean president, which is to fire off another battery of missiles. Instead, how about a separate diplomatic initiative yourself, perhaps meeting with the incoming president of South Korea, likely to be President Moon, in some third country location, maybe Ulaanbaatar, maybe even Astana in Kazakhstan.
Kevin Rudd, former Prime Minister of Australia, thank you very much for being with us.